When it comes to the world of Dungeons & Dragons, there are many magnificent magical items. Hey everyone, Mitz here again, and today we're going to be talking about the best and worst cards you could pull out of the Deck of Many Things. The Deck of Many Things is a fan favorite. In fact, recently this one magic item has an entire book written about it. The Book of Many Things. And in this book, there is an updated version of the Deck of Many Things. This book is actually really good. It goes into detail and breaks down the various cards and how you can use them as encounters and for guiding your entire adventure inside the book itself. It suggests how fate might interact with your encounters and your characters. Today, however, I'm just going to look at the cards themselves and what they do when you pull them and when you hold them. I'm going to talk about the best, I'm going to talk about the worst, also kind of the most boring, I guess, and I'm going to talk about why adding this magic item to your game can make it really, really fun. And also, I'm going to tell you how to cheat to use it. Okay, we're going to start off with the worst. We are going to go through 5 of the worst cards in the deck. Number 1 is the Flame card. You can use this card to summon a devil. The card is attuned to a specific level with a challenge rating of 8 or lower. As an action, you can hold this card aloft and summon that devil, which appears in an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of you. The devil is initially unfriendly towards you or your companions. Roll initiative for the devil, which has its own turns. The DM has the creature's stat block. On each of your turns, you can issue a verbal command to the devil, no action required by you, as long as you are holding this card. The devil obeys your commands. Otherwise, it's under the DM's control and acts according to its nature. It might attack you if it thinks it can prevail, or try to attempt to undertake an evil act in exchange for further service. After 1 minute, or when the devil's hit points drop to 0, devil returns to the lower planes. Once this property is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. Okay, so the main reason I think this card is kind of bad is that the devil can quite easily disobey you if it thinks it's stronger than you, which it could be. Or it can simply knock the card out of your hands, or burn it in some way perhaps. I know it's a magical item, so it can't really destroy it, but the point is this is very easily taking control away from the players. I know that's the kind of risk reward you go from pulling a card out of the deck, and while I do love summoning things, I think that this one could be specifically frustrating, especially as a DM too, because you have to end up pulling the stat, deciding what monster it is, pulling the stat block out, and then deciding if it's going to betray them or how it might betray them or how if it would betray them, which, let's face it, it probably would if it could. So it just kind of makes more of a headache for the DM than it does an advantage for the players. Okay, one of the worst cards, number 2, the Jester card. As an action, you can brandish this card and use it to cast Otto's Irresistible Dance spell, and you have advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on it. Once this property is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. So essentially the reason this is on the worst list, it's not necessarily number 2, these numbers aren't really in any specific order. It gives you a 6th level spell in Otto's Resistant Dance, which is a good spell, but the problem is it can be broken very easily. They get a chance to save every single turn, and there's a better card that you can give to your players that gives them a 6th level spell. So that's pretty much it. It's just kind of bland. It's not that great, that's all. Card number 3 is the Puzzle card. As an action, you can hold this card aloft and magically disable each trap within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover. A trap for the purpose of this property includes any object or mechanism that would inflict a sudden effect that was intended by its maker to cause harm or inconvenience. If the trap is the effect of a spell such as Alarm, that trap is suppressed for 10 minutes instead of being disabled. Once this property is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. So the real issue with this is a lot of traps are behind cover. Like total cover, like they completely hit them except for like the tiny little mechanism that's supposed to set them off. So it really doesn't even really work a lot of the time, and even if it does, it might work on like tripwires, stuff like that. That's fine, but it also doesn't tell you where the traps are. So while it might disable some of them if they're on timers to reset themselves, it's not really, it's only going to give you, like, you're going to walk through a room thinking you got away with getting past all the traps, and then you're going to come back through and the same day and you're not going to be able to use it again. You're going to trigger them all back on the way through. So, and especially if there's like it's an alarm or something, like it's only 10 minutes. So it does, the real issue I have with this is it doesn't tell you where they are at the same time as disabling them. If it somehow outlined them so you could figure out where the traps were when like they each made like a ping sound or something like that, right? Then it would be much better, but that is why it is not so good in my opinion. Card number 4 is the Sage card. As an action, you can brandish this card and use it to cast the Contact Other Plane spell. When you cast this spell in this way, your questions are answered by the mysterious figure depicted on the card. Once this property is used, you can't be using it until the next dawn. So the reason I don't like this card is far too much risk reward. You take a lot of psychic damage and go absolutely insane if you fail a saving throw on the Contact Other Plane, and the answers that they can give are like yes, no, maybe answers. It's really not as good as it sounds. I feel like this is almost a last ditch effort sort of card, or if a specific character has, advantage on the intelligence saving throw, super intelligent wizard type character, like that might be okay for them to do it. But realistically, for a random person to have this card and try and use it, it is not going to go well. And just, your DM also could be very picky with the way they answer the questions. They could very much sort of monkey paw the answers, and if you don't ask very specifically what you want to know, they could just answer yes, no, or maybe, and you wouldn't get any information out of it either. And then the reward for the risk is just completely, null and void. Okay, and the 5th card that I think is kind of one of the worst out of this new deck of many things is the Throne card. As an action, you can speak command word while holding this card to gain advantage on charisma, intimidation, or persuasion checks for 1 minute. In addition, of that duration, when you use this card to cast, you can use this card to cast a command spell with a DC of 17 as an action. Once this property is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. It's not that great. It only gives you intimidation and persuasion checks advantage, and you can cast command, which is a level 1 spell for a minute. That's not that long. 1 minute is not that long. If this was like an hour, I'm sure it would be much more versatile and usable, but 1 minute is too short of a duration. It just feels lackluster. Like it doesn't even feel like you could use this to, like, outside of combat, you could use this to cast command one time probably, and then your minute would be up, and you could maybe make 1 persuasion or 1 intimidation check with it. And inside of combat, far more useful, I guess, in a sense, if you want to constantly just be casting command on different things, because it doesn't have a limit how many times you can cast. So you could cast it 10 times. It is pretty big, but I feel like if they save against the command, it's a wasted turn. Whereas you could have done something more useful, especially given that you're in a party of players that are all trying to synergize their abilities together. So, okay, that rounds up the worst. But before we get into the best, I would love to remind you guys that I do have a Patreon. You can check it out. Links over there. Absolutely free. You can join and sign up as a free member and get access to all the things we put out each month. We have monsters, magic items, and maps, as well as blog posts to help you become better Dungeon Master, have more fun at your table. And there's also a few things I have on the DMs Guild, links down in the description below. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. And thank you so much for checking out this video. Have a look at some others once this one is done. Back to the rest of the video. Okay, so we're going to look at the 5 best cards from the new deck of many things. Number 1, the Fool card. As an action, you can brandish this card at 1 creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. The target must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw, or for the next minute, the target can't cast spells or activate magic items. It has disadvantage on all saving throws, and other creatures have a resistance to all damage it deals. Once this property is used, it can't be used until the next dawn. So essentially you can use this card in combat against 1 creature to pretty much completely nullify almost everything it can do. This seems amazing for just 1 action that you don't have to concentrate on. Yeah, they get a saving throw, but this card still does so much. And if you can somehow figure out a way to force them to fail that saving throw with a Silvery Barbs or a Divination Wizard, or giving it disadvantage in some other way, make it frightened or some other condition, then this will actually completely render that enemy useless, essentially, which is really awesome. Okay, card number 2 is the Knight card. As an action, you can throw this card to an unoccupied space on the ground within 60 feet of yourself while speaking a command word, whereupon the card magically transforms into a defender deck. You can see Chapter 9 for the stat block in Book of Many Things. For up to 1 minute, or until you use an action to speak the command word again, whereupon it transforms back into a card. The deck defender obeys your spoken commands. If you issue no commands, it takes the dodge action and moves to avoid danger. The deck defender reverts to a card early if it drops to 0 hit points. Once this property is used, it can't be used until the next dawn. I love summoning creatures. I think this is awesome because you can give that stat block to the players and let them go crazy. Now, we did mention earlier that the devil with the flames card where you're summoning a devil, that highly relies on you as a dungeon master to control, which gives you more to do, which I don't like. But this one, you can just give the stats to your player, let them go crazy. And the really cool thing is that this summoned creature has different modes that it can use, which is really cool. It lets you defend yourself with it, which is really, really awesome. Okay, card number 3 for the best cards is the Skull card. As an action, you can brandish this card to use it to cast Spirit of Death, see Chapter 7, as a 6th level spell. Spell attack bonus +9, save is DC 17. Once the property is used, it can't be used until the next dawn. Again, I love summoning things. This is really cool. This creature is incorporeal, which is really neat, and it has a cool interaction. When it hits a target, it can haunt them and keep them frightened and kind of use this very sort of crowd control-y type ability sort of stuff. I think this is really, really cool to have, especially if you give this to one of your players or one of the characters in the party that doesn't have anything like this, and all of a sudden they have this new thing to play around with. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Card number 4 is the Talons card. As an action, you can brandish this card and target one magic item you can see within 120 feet of yourself. If the item isn't an artifact, its magical properties are suppressed for 1 minute. Once the card is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. So the main reason I think this is really, really good is it's super situational, but it can essentially help your party overcome an obstacle in their way that they know is magical instantly. So if it's a magical door and they can't get through, bam. If it's a magical trap they have to get past that they know is there but they don't know how to disarm, done. If it's a magic item that an enemy is holding and wielding and brandishing at them, just lock it down. There's so many uses for this. Just because of its sheer utility, I think it's really, really, really good. Okay, and the 5th card that I think is on the list for the best is the Void card. As an action, you can brandish this card and attempt to banish up to 3 creatures you can see within 120 feet of yourself. If the target is from a different plane of existence than the plane you're on, the target must succeed on a DC 17 Charisma saving throw or be brandished, returned to another plane. Once this property is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. So only if the creature is native to another plane of existence does it have to make a saving throw, otherwise it is automatically banished to a different plane for a minute. And not only that, you can target 3 creatures with this card. Huge. Absolutely humongous. Okay. This is super, super, super powerful. So crazy. I don't understand how this is a card. But it's supposed to be a deck of many things. They're supposed to be pretty OP. So this can be, again, utility reigns supreme when I didn't feel like picking cards that just dealt damage was appropriate, because damage is damage. And your players have various ways of doing that already. But these cards are very handy, especially when, yes, they might have the utility spells like Banish, but do they have them yet? Do they have many of them? And do they have any spell slots left? So in those 3 things within consideration, having this card on hand when you're either in a tight spot or before you decide to use your own spell slots to attempt things, throwing this card out, considering you can use it basically once a day, is amazing. It's super powerful. And speaking of damaging cards, I want to give some honorable mentions to 1, the Comet card, because it has a crazy amount of damage. It's like 6d6 bludgeoning and 6d6 fire damage or something like that in basically a fireball radius within 120 feet. It's crazy. It does a lot of damage. Really cool. Really thematically cool card to pick that card out. The Gem card as well. The Gem card is good because, like I mentioned a lot earlier, the Otto's Irresistible Dance card, essentially the Gem card lets you just cast any 6th level spell you want, or maybe it's from a list you have to pick that the DM might recommend what's on that list, I suppose. But either way, you have access to many different 6th level spells rather than just the one. So that's why the gem card gets a good mention, because there are a lot of cool 6th level spells out there. And another utility card that I picked as the 3rd honorable mention is the key card. I know it sounds really obvious what it is, right? You can cast a knock spell, but the drawback of the loud ringing sound is gone. It doesn't make that sound, and you can use this up to 5 times a day. Get through those doors, get those chests open, find that treasure. It's just amazing. It's an amazing utility card. Now, the big thing that I want you guys to take away from this is that the Book of Many Things is a great way to use the whole idea of fate and randomization in your campaign. Well, it at least sort of helps you set up how things start, and then maybe some key plot points here and there about how things might go. Of course, the rest of the campaign is completely player driven, and how they decide to control their destiny is entirely up to them. There are tons of cool adventure hooks that you can take away from this book, as well as the deck itself. Many of them can be used as one-shots, simple encounters to throw into your adventures, or again, like I said, designing an entire campaign around. Use this book, use these cards to inspire you, create fun moments for your players, and if they pick out something that's completely useless for them, this is where you cheat. You just pick a card that you think is cool for the moment, and you say that's the card they drew. It's very simple. It's a very, very simple concept, guys. I know some people are going to say, that's like fudging the dice. No, it's not, okay? Fudging the dice is different, alright? This is making sure that what they pick is impactful in the moment, rather than them picking something and everyone just going like, oh, okay. They're drawing from the deck of many things, alright? It's supposed to be intense and amazing. Make it that way. That's it from me. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.